This thief has reached the max level in his profession, yet he remains a novice who is nothing in the game, but due to a sudden malfunction of the logout button, his life, along with his game character, was forcibly erased by the system. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself with the memory of a max-level thief, reborn 3 years ago. At this time, Heavenland had only been online for 3 months. In this life, he is determined to break into the top 100 of full-time combat power, then become the strongest awakener, finally establish his own guild power. So Linksa found the first generation of gaming helmets from a scavenging old man. He couldn't wait to log into the game, determined to make up for all the regrets of his past life. The new character name is still Linksa, and he, with his max-level thief experience, chose the thief profession again after being reborn. Originally, a level 1 newbie had 12 attribute points to distribute. In his last life, Linksa chose a more balanced way to allocate the points, but in this life, he didn't hesitate to put all 12 points into agility, because this was an upgrading secret only he knew. As the system countdown ended, Linksa was transported to the spawn point, but the server had just been online for a short time, and the spawn point was already overcrowded. In his last life, he entered the game a year late. This time he must seize the initiative. He anxiously opened the combat power leaderboard. Sure enough, the ID at the top of the list was the same as in his previous life. What made him relieved was, Budongenwen's level was only 12, but now, Linksa must hurry to set his leveling plan, because in his mind, there are countless opportunities and treasures waiting for him to unlock. He wants to use his experience from his previous life to become the first awakener at a pace that breaks everything in his path. Let's go! First, go get some divine equipment to play with. Linksa was transported to the main city of Casfido. This is the newbie village for players from level 1 to 5. There's a trade for all kinds of equipment and weapons, because every newbie has an initial silver coin. Later on, this place was called the Sacred Land for merchants to cut the leaks of newcomers. Here, players at level 3 or 4 are particularly in demand, and if you want a level 5 pro to power level you, they would boldly ask for 3 silver coins. The reason for this situation is that the tasks that newbies can take are already overcrowded, and most people can only level up by grinding at fixed monster spots. Even to kill a level 1 monster, you'd have to wait in line for an hour, because Heavenland doesn't have a fixed main storyline. It values players' exploration and development more. If there's a level 5 pro to help you level up, naturally, leveling up and grabbing monsters is twice as effective. At this point, Linksa just sneers. Too bad I have the fastest way to get to level 5. He quickly teleported to the commercial street and put forward his shopping needs to the shop NPC, finally spending 90 copper coins, only to buy a basic speed-up scroll and a one-time use grappling hook. What is this for? Then Linksa quickly rushed to Sunfall Peak to acquire divine equipment. Looking around, he felt secretly delighted. Sure enough, not many people wanted to trigger the hidden quest here early in the game, but then he heard the complaints of passers-by. That Sunfall Elder NPC is problematic. It requires reaching the peak within 10 minutes. Even if you gave me 20 minutes, I might not make it. It takes at least 6 minutes to bypass the rupture in Sunfall Peak. Then a beautiful healing mage cried. I thought there was a hidden platform inside the rupture, but I fell to my death inside, and lost a level of experience. The kindly Sunfall Elder NPC not far away asked the passers-by, who wants to see the scenery from the mountain top? So Linksa respectfully bowed to the elder. Yes, honorable elder, I came to appreciate the scenery of Sunfall Peak. The few who had just failed the challenge immediately mocked him. Linksa ignored them, and decisively took on the task of reaching the peak. With a time limit of 10 minutes, he couldn't waste a single second. Linksa had put all 12 attribute points into agility just for this moment. If he could really reach the peak, he would get a set of special equipment as a reward. The moment Linksa chose to accept, the countdown began. Honorable Elder, see you at the top. Level 1 Linksa burst out at nearly the speed of a level 5 player, but Linksa did not take the normal mountain path. Instead, he dashed towards the dense jungle next to it. The mountain path may be convenient and safe, but it's winding and rugged. Going through the jungle would at least cut the distance in half. And the reason no one goes through the jungle is because it's inhabited by many big-mouthed grass monsters. But these monsters are the key to a thief's quick ascent. In a flash, 2 big-mouthed grass monsters sprang out. Although they were only level 1, big-mouthed grass monsters are social creatures, so they often harass passers-by and are a real nuisance. The next instant, Linksa unleashed his backstab skill on the farthest grass monster. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind the grass monster. Clearly, the big-mouthed grass monsters were key to his mobility, and the more he used backstab, the more hate he would attract. but it would effectively shorten Lynx's climbing time. At this moment, a system prompt appeared. You have attracted the hatred of a large number of grass monsters. But Lynx was not afraid, because the cooldown for his next backstab had just ended. With 6 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, Lynx had already reached halfway up the mountain. Unknowingly, Lynx had drawn the hatred of dozens of big-mouth grass monsters. The next place was the rupture at Sunfall Peak. Yes, right here. Most players would choose to go around the rupture, but that would take at least 6 extra minutes. So what if there was a way to get past the rupture? The peak was in sight. With 6 minutes and 10 seconds left, Lynx vaguely remembered that there was a nest of grass monsters at the rupture. He would use them as stepping stones. And it was time for the grappling hook and acceleration scroll to come into play. The moment the acceleration scroll was activated, Lynx suddenly launched a backstab at the big-mouth grass monster, instantly riding on top of the monster's head. Let me take advantage of you to get there. So Lynx shook off the surrounding grass monsters that were in the way. Then, with all his might, he jumped using the grass monsters' bodies. With the acceleration of the scroll, he easily passed through the mist between the ruptures. He saw the dead tree branch in the center of the rupture, and at that instant, the pre-prepared grappling hook was released. With an accurate effective range of 90 meters. Take me, fly up. Lynx cleverly swung himself out with the hook. Of course, it wasn't possible to fly directly over the rupture. That's right, only one step left. The big-mouth grass monsters that were bound to spawn at the edge of the mountain. He just needed to launch a backstab one more time, and he could cross the rupture. Time was ticking away. A white-haired youth soared high from the afterglow of sunfall, with a remaining time of 5 minutes and 17 seconds. The system then prompted, "Congratulations, young man. You have completed the mountain climbing task in just 4 minutes and 43 seconds. And not far from the summit," the Sunfall Elder exclaimed. "I never thought you would reach the peak in less than half the time. Young adventurer, seeing the danger as you leaped through the mist of the rupture, it seems you have a great determination." Lynx's mouth curved slightly. "If in this life, I lack the determination to gaze upon the peaks, how can I talk about reaching the pinnacle?" Then, the Sunfall Elder's weathered face revealed a smile not characteristic of an NPC. "Interesting, young man. You are qualified to explore the strength of the glorious." At this moment, a system pop-up prompted, "Because you completed it in less than 5 minutes, you have activated the Sunfall Elder's hidden task, Proof of the Glorious." Lynx was instantly baffled. In his past life, he had challenged Sunfall Peak hundreds of times, but he had never heard of any hidden tasks. Then the Sunfall Elder took out a badge from his bosom. Handing it to Lynx, he exclaimed, "You remind me of my determination back in the day, when I was determined to become a king if I was to be mad." The moment the badge was in hand, a system pop-up displayed the item description for the dust-laden Proof of the Glorious. "This is an ancient badge, hidden within our history and a journey. Congratulations, player. You have unlocked the path of the glorious hidden mission. Explore the secrets behind the badge. Current task progress is at 0%. There's no location prompt. Seems like it's an exploration type mission. I've never heard of this mission in my previous life. I have no idea how to go about this." Next, the Sunfall Elder sent the peak reaching reward to Lynx's warehouse. "This is the reward you receive for reaching the peak as per your class. Pinnacle Strength, deals 1000% damage to monsters level 5 and below. Pinnacle Body, monsters level 5 and below can only deal 1 damage to you. Pinnacle Set, will disappear after reaching level 5, and the attribute will also disappear. Cannot equip any other equipment when the set is equipped." And this is Lynx's biggest advantage before reaching level 5. He then chose to equip the Pinnacle Set. The next instant, a silvery white cloak appeared. His limbs were wrapped in bright silver metal. This matched perfectly with Lynx's silver hair. The Sunfall Elder said to Lynx, "We will meet again. That is if you maintain your determination of reaching the peak. Well then, let this old man give you a ride. Let the people below witness your return as someone who reached the peak." With a swoosh, the Elder, holding Lynx, leaped from the kilometer-high peak. Those waiting to mock were still smug at this moment. But then a bright light exploded at the foot of the mountain. In the astonished eyes of the crowd, an old man and a youth shone with silver brilliance in the dust. That level 1 thief. He didn't really complete the peak climbing task, did he? And where did he get that equipment from? But the complaining woman from before immediately switched faces, turning into a soft girl clinging to Lynx. "Thief big brother, can we be friends?" Lynx, hearing the noise around him, realized that this commotion was unavoidable. After all, making an entrance in such a way, it would be strange if it didn't attract attention. "Young adventurer, I can only take you this far." Immediately, the Sunfall Elder waved his hand, and in full view of the crowd, opened a golden portal. Players who like to study game guides suddenly frowned. What exactly is the Sunfall Elder's identity? He actually opened a special portal, and the equipment on this thief Could it be a unique mission? A soft girl asked curiously. What is a unique mission? It turns out that Heavenland's tasks are divided into 3 types. One is the bounty mission that players often receive. The second type is encounter missions, triggered by special NPCs. And the third one is unique missions. This one is very special, because once someone has completed the mission, that mission will disappear forever, and other players won't be able to receive it. Before leaving, the old man said goodbye to Linksa. May we meet again in the future, if you are still trekking on the glorious journey. But before Linksa could ask about the proof of the glorious, the old man left one last sentence. Goodbye, candidate of the glorious one. At the moment the Sunfall Elder was teleported away, the system prompted. The Journey to Glory task progress updated to 5%. You must continue to search for information about the Glorious One to uncover the unknown journey. The hidden task type is also a unique mission. The key is that the difficulty is unknown, but now Linksa has the pinnacle set. The most urgent thing is to reach level 5. In order not to make others envious, he hid his personal information and equipment. Then Linksa headed to the Ant Army Basin dungeon. This dungeon is suitable for all players from level 2 to 5 to grind. Only level 1 players would not dare to set foot. But Linksa directly entered the inner circle of the Ant Army Basin. You should know that the inner circle is full of level 5 ant soldiers, and the ant soldiers will attack in groups. Even those level 5 bosses in the guild with full golden equipment would need at least 2 healers to grind in the inner circle. But for Linksa, who has the pinnacle set, the inner circle of the Ant Army Basin is his best grinding spot. Perhaps he could reach level 5 before the next wave of ant soldiers refresh. What dropped everyone's jaws was that this level 1 thief was even more ferocious than a warrior, incredibly slashing and chopping his way along to the middle circle. They saw Linksa leap with one bound and fly directly into the inner circle filled with level 5 ant soldiers. Just earlier, Linksa was on his way to the Ant Army Basin and happened to run into the Nebulous Guild's adventure team. If he remembered correctly, the Nebulous Guild would become one of the top 5 guilds in the future. Right now, their female team leader was furious. All because a mage in the team had been too nervous while fighting in the inner circle and accidentally killed a low-health teammate, leading to a red name punishment. After being wiped out by the level 5 ant soldiers, the red name mage not only lost a level of experience, even his level 5 magic staff fire chaser was dropped. Red name, player killer. A player's name will turn red if they kill another player. Dying whilst having a red name will apply an EXP lost penalty on the player as well as having one of their equipment dropped. The lasting duration of a red name will depend on the degree of the offense. Who knew that at this time? Linksa would volunteer. Why not let me help you retrieve the equipment? Hearing a level 1 thief wanting to go into the inner circle, the red name mage felt doubly humiliated. The next second, a big sword was leveled in front of Linksa. A level 1 thief should not go to die. That's not where you can gain experience. Go to the level 1 to 2 maps to grind monsters first. Linksa thought this person was being quite reasonable, so he used lack of money as an excuse and said, "If I can get the equipment out, how about selling it to you?" Looking at this level 1 thief who was impervious to reason, the female warrior immediately scolded. "Never mind whether you can even get into the inner circle. It would be good enough if you could survive in the outer circle." Little did she know, Linksa, having learned where the magic staff fire chaser had fallen, had already disappeared from the spot. Before leaving, he bragged to the Nebulous team, "You guys rest here. Remember to bring the money later." The female team member only thought he was a madman and turned away. Quickly, Linksa charged into the outer circle of the Ant Army Basin, all by himself. At this moment, Linksa was like a gust of wind. His movements in ambush seemed so natural and casual. He could easily navigate through the outer circle just by moving. Then with a backstab, he successfully reached the edge of the middle circle. This maneuver left the level 4 players grinding in the middle circle stunned and agape. Who is this level 1 thief? This is too wild, isn't it? However, what they didn't know was, Linksa's actual target was the inner circle. They saw Linksa quickly plunge into the heart of the inner circle's ant soldiers. Due to the powerful effects of the pinnacle set, attacks from wild creatures of level 5 or below could only deduct 1 point of his health, and there was a 1000% increased damage to wild creatures. Just one move wiped out 5 ant soldiers. This allowed Linksa to smoothly reach level 2, because the experience from killing higher level creatures is more than usual, and since no one was grinding in the inner circle at the moment, these level 5 ant soldiers could all be claimed by Linksa. Time flew by, and it was suddenly evening. By now, the ant soldiers in the middle and outer circles had been mostly killed by players. But what was terrifying was, at this moment, the inner circle was filled with corpses. That thief was still alive, not only solo grinding in the inner circle, but also with the experience bonus for killing higher level creatures. He had gone from level 1 to level 5 in just half a day. Madman. He's definitely a madman. He must have hidden his equipment information. He certainly has some incredible godly equipment. Meanwhile, a broadcast in the center of the newbie village announced, players can accumulate experience buff by sleeping in the rest area. So the female captain of the Nebulous Guild chose to rest. But the red name mage couldn't stop thinking about Linksa. But whenever she heard about that thief, the female captain got angry. As a result, she grabbed the mage and scolded him. Even though we are the third echelon, we Nebulous are one of the top 5 guilds after all. A level 1 thief picking up equipment for you, isn't that embarrassing? And you even dare to look forward to it with a straight face. At the same time, Linksa's micro-operation and deeds were posted on the Heavenland forum. Hearing the rumors, the female captain was also very curious. Which thief was solo grinding in the inner circle, going directly from level 1 to level 5? The next second, Linksa appeared behind the female captain. The captain's pupils shrank as she stared hard at Linksa's level. You, the thief talked about on the forum is you. Linksa handed the magic staff fire chaser to the red name mage. I say, what price do you plan to give me? However, the red name mage only had 3 silver coins left, and he gave them all to Linksa. The female captain then invited Linksa, saying, if you're interested in the Nebulous Guild, I can help you get a recommendation to the higher-ups. It turns out that the Nebulous Guild was one of the top 5 guilds in Linksa's previous life. Unfortunately, Linksa entered the game a year too late in his last life. Wanting to join one of the top 5 guilds, he found they were already full. Later, when Heavenland opened its pet system, leveling up became much easier. It was precisely because of this that Linksa, in order to level up quickly, studied countless players' guides. But the reason was for his livelihood, because after reaching the maximum level, it was easier to make money by taking quests. Joining a guild was something filled with illusions for the Linksa of his previous life. But in this life, Linksa can choose, and he decisively declined the female captain's invitation, because having lost the pinnacle set, he now needs to go and get another set of equipment. So Linksa came to the novice shop again, preparing for his next level grinding. As a result, the symbol of level 5 immediately dumbfounded those who had mocked him during the day. He first sold the 12 pieces of equipment that exploded in the Ant Army Basin today, exchanging them for 30 silver coins and 66 copper coins. Then he purchased 20 bottles of strong burning fluid and 3 primary invisibility potions from the shop NPC. As for the weapon, Linksa casually went to the blacksmith's department next door and bought a level 5 plain white dagger. The reason for making so many preparations was because Linksa discovered that the Queen Ant's nest instance in the depths of the Ant Army Basin had not been opened by anyone yet. As long as he could clear the Queen Ant's nest, the level 5 instance would be refreshed, and the hidden instance Dark Forest would appear. And the unyielding slaughter set that could be dropped from the Dark Forest was the strongest equipment for thieves below level 10. The first thing Linksa did upon arriving at the Queen Ant's nest was to drink an invisibility potion. This was the most effortless method he had seen in a guide from his previous life. Although it only lasted 9 seconds, it was enough time to accomplish many things. The moment the potion's effect ended, the monster's aggro would immediately fall on Linksa. But as long as he reapplied the invisibility potion, he could continue on his way without trouble. After consuming all 3 potions, Linksa had already arrived at the entrance of the Queen Ant's cave. Next, all he needed to do was kill the Queen Ant to open the hidden instance Dark Forest. But now Linksa was being attacked from both sides. So the strong burning bottles he had prepared in advance came into play. Ants are most afraid of fire. Using the burning bottles to block the entrance, the ant soldiers couldn't get in, and the Queen Ant was in existence like a breeding machine, with no means of attack on its own. Now the Queen Ant was like a fish trapped in a barrel. Linksa grinned and said, "It's better for us to fight one-on-one. Who made you so easy to bully?" With that, Linksa threw the remaining burning bottles at the Queen Ant. A piercing scream was heard from the nest. At that moment, the system sent a server-wide announcement. Congratulations to player. Player has hidden their information for clearing Queen Ant's nest. It has even provoked the wrath of the insect race. The level 5 hidden instance, Dark Forest, has been opened. On the other hand, Linksa's solo grinding in the Ant Army Basin's inner circle and leveling up 5 times in a single day was reported to the high-level members of the Nebulous Guild by Dyra. "I saw this guy level up 5 times in less than half a day. If we don't invite him first, I'm afraid other guilds might have their eyes on him." A level 8 high-level member said disdainfully, "Could a little level 5 thief affect the structure of the top 5 guilds?" Even if Dyra praised Linksa to the skies, the high-level members remained arrogant and proud. At that moment, a girl interrupted the argument. Vice Captain Tiana acted as the mediator. "Dyra is thinking for the guild. Don't make it hard for her. Daira, if that thief really is talented, give him a chance to come to the guild and take the team assessment. The game was launched not long ago. There are way too many players applying for the guild. He'll get his chance. Tiana's few words, coupled with her soft voice, immediately persuaded Daira. After all, among female orcs, it was rare to find such a gentle and refined girl. However, just at that moment, everyone received the server-wide announcement. Player has hidden their information cleared Queen Ant's nest, provoking the wrath of the insect race. The level 5 hidden instance, Dark Forest, has been opened. The rational Tiana called for everyone to be quiet. Everyone will receive this announcement, and the level 5 hidden instance will attract all players. We must hurry to go observe, to scout some good prospects for the guild. The captain eagerly agreed. Tiana is right. What Tiana said is true. He then ordered the high-level members to head to Dark Forest immediately. However, as soon as the news broke, the streets were crowded even at midnight, and there was a long line at the newbie shops. Everyone was heading for Dark Forest, and Linksa was no exception. Dark Forest not only had a level restriction, players above level 5 could not enter, and the team must consist of at least 5 members. The always solo grinding Linksa was a little overwhelmed. Around him, people were mostly choosing to challenge the lower or intermediate levels of Dark Forest. A small team named Show Off Bird opened a golden portal to the higher difficulty level, but they had just entered for half an hour, and found that the boss inside actually had a mutation stage, and teammates were killed by the boss with just 2 touches. At that moment, Linksa suddenly ran into 4 players who had laughed at him during the day at the foot of Sunfall Peak. The prominent level 5 emblem instantly attracted the attention of the nearby players, who came over to admire. Unexpectedly, Linksa cast aside previous disagreements and said he wanted to lead them through Dark Forest, and sent a team invitation directly. Linksa leveling up to 5 in one day clearly indicated some strength, but at that time, Linksa made a request. Everyone had to hide their ID, saying that. Linksa turned to prepare the portal, while his teammates were still confused. Don't we need to communicate before the battle? Just then, a flash of red light. The next second, a blood-red portal suddenly appeared before everyone. It turns out that Linksa wanted to challenge the most terrifying insanity difficulty in Dark Forest. Everyone was instantly petrified, and they were stuttering. The insanity difficulty that the 5 major guilds dared not challenge. Now, let me, Linksa, lead you through. This move was immediately surrounded by all players watching. His teammates were afraid of losing face, and urged Linksa to go in quickly. But just as they were about to lash out at Linksa, a piece of fire equipment was credited to each teammate's inventory. It turns out, Linksa had been planning this since grinding in Ant Army Basin. He had distributed the early collected fire equipment to teammates according to different classes. You must know, one piece of equipment is worth 10 silver coins, and since the monsters in Dark Forest are afraid of fire, it's like giving his teammates a peace of mind pill. But the insanity difficulty instance couldn't possibly be simple. Even with some equipment, the chances of clearing it wouldn't be very high. Who knew? Linksa, with no regard for human nature, directly brought out an entire box of burning bottles. With these, it should be enough. Each of you take 15 bottles, and there should be no problem with defeating the boss. But a new problem arose. What to do if they encounter wild monsters on the way? Linksa was not afraid at all. I'll tell you on the way. Then Linksa clicked to replace his equipment. The next second his eyebrows caught fire, as the flame-burning set gradually took shape on him. A teammate with the same thief profession stared in astonishment. Is this the most expensive level 5 thief set in the store? Oh my goodness, it's the Starfire set. With this move, the entire team's morale was instantly ignited. Even though it's the insanity difficulty instance, if we find the weak points, we can win. Let's set off. The first kill of insanity difficulty is ours for the taking, Linksa explained to his teammates. The insect race here is particularly sensitive to crisis. Simply put, this forest is divided into 4 areas, each area guarded by different monsters. The first is the mantis area, the second is the moth area, the third is the spider area. To safely pass through these 3 areas, they have to find neutral creatures called weeping birds, then just use natural enemies to restrain, and they can reach the boss area unscathed. Teammates were immediately looking forward to seeing what these birds looked like, just when everyone thought weeping birds were cute and coquettish creatures. However, in reality, weeping birds were only silly and not cute at all. With a shrill cry and gluttonous, Linksa handed over the fat bugs he had caught earlier to the weeping birds. The tasty meal made them compromise at once. At this time, the system prompted that the weeping birds were pleased. Received hidden item weeping flute. Linksa looked amused. So, in Heavenland, there's no NPC without a purpose. and with this flute, we can take a shortcut. But the teammates were puzzled. Boss, how did you know there was a shortcut? Linksa couldn't tell them that he had run this instance countless times in his past life, so he fobbed them off with the excuse that it was recorded in the library. Unexpectedly, a teammate directly wrote down Linksa's words verbatim. An embarrassed Linksa opened the map and explained, "We are now at the treehouse location, and there's a swamp in the middle of the forest, but it's easy to get lost. Monster species in this area are disorganized, but we have the weeping flute to disperse them." The previously self-satisfied little Lon, the next second was smelly and wading through the swamp. Listening to everyone's complaints, Linksa said coldly, "If you're not willing to pay even this small price, don't even think about clearing the insanity difficulty. You all keep quiet. We're about to enter the monster grinding area." Little Lon whispered in complaint, "The mud has ruined my skirt, and my legs are so sticky." At that moment, Little Lon suddenly looked ahead in terror. 2 level 5 spiders had appeared in the forest. Just their presence intimidated everyone into immobility. Immediately, Linksa blew the weeping flute. The spiders trembled as if they'd seen a ghost. Fear sprouted in their hearts, and with one leap, they vanished without a trace. Right after that, Linksa reminded, "Stay close to me. This shortcut relies entirely on this flute. If you get separated, there are many monsters waiting to devour us above." Linksa played the flute to scare the monsters as they continued. It took half an hour to finally reach the safe area, but everyone was unscathed. Before them was the dark forest, the room of the insanity difficulty boss. Linksa's heartbeat accelerated, and goosebumps covered his entire body, because the path before had techniques, but fighting the boss would really depend on strength. So, before taking on the boss, Linksa had already discussed the attack plan with his 4 teammates. Each person first took 15 burning bottles, and to make the boss enter the burning state, only 3 burning bottles were needed. Moreover, the boss would have a damage bonus in the burning state, but the burning bottles not only had throwing distance limitations, they also couldn't be moved during the throw. So Linksa assigned them specific positions. They just had to stand in specific positions on the cliff, and wait for him to lure the wounded boss over, then attack together. The chance of taking down the boss would be greater. On the other side, Linksa arrived behind the Mud Dragon Swamp boss. He looked at the sleeping Mud Dragon and sighed, "In my last life, I don't know how many times I fought you. Now I'm level 5. I've learned the combo accumulation skill. As long as I'm not interrupted in my combo, and use the Starfire set's accompanying skill torrent at the end, you'll have to take a good beating." Immediately, Linksa stabbed the Mud Dragon's spine with a backstab. "Wake up and meet death." The boss was suddenly awakened by the pain, and let out a deafening roar. With a swing of its huge hand, it tried to smash Linksa into the ground. Fortunately, Linksa's speed was fast enough, and he narrowly avoided it. Next, the Mud Dragon spat out a mouthful of green bean soup, intending to cool down Linksa. But what it didn't know was that Linksa's attack distance on the Mud Dragon was perfect. His experience from his last life was thoroughly ingrained, and he clearly remembered the limit of every move the Mud Dragon made. However, if attacked in the air, Linksa would have nowhere to avoid, but the cooldown for his backstab skill had just ended. So Linksa continued attacking for an entire hour. His teammates waited half the day, and thought he was dead. But in the team information, Linksa's health bar hadn't dropped at all. Could it be that the boss hasn't even touched him yet? At that moment, a message from Linksa popped up in the chat box. They saw a cloud of dust not far away. It seemed that something massive was coming. Linksa told everyone not to act rashly. He would pull the boss into the middle of the canyon soon. Immediately, Linksa started to sprint for his life, with the 1-ton Mud Dragon closely chasing after him. What surprised his teammates was why the Mud Dragon's health was only 1/3 left. How on earth did Linksa do it? Just as the Mud Dragon accelerated, Linksa yelled at his teammates, "Smash it to death." In a panic, his teammates simply threw their burning bottles into the center of the canyon. Fire is the bane of insects. Though the Mud Dragon's body was massive, it couldn't deflect dozens of burning bottles. With the Mud Dragon forced into a burning state, Little Lon felt a secret thrill. The feeling of smashing monsters with money was too exciting. Suddenly, 10 burning bottles were poured out. At this moment, the Mud Dragon instantly entered a void state. This was a sign of rage. The Mud Dragon in this state would cause the burning bottles to miss their target, but Linksa told his teammates to throw the burning bottles at him. Everyone looked at each other in confusion, because killing a teammate would result in a red name. Linksa roared, "Smash me quickly." His teammates were shocked but still did as told. Well done. The burning bottles originally meant for the boss were now all thrown at Linksa. The flames fused into his body. At this moment, he was imbued with fire. System prompt: you have activated Starfire set's special ability. For 30 seconds, you will be immune to any fire damage, and your next attack will apply fire damage, dealing 5 times extra damage to targets on fire. Meanwhile, outside the Insanity difficulty dungeon, people had begun to doubt. It's been so long, Could they actually clear the level? At this point, the leaders of Nebulous scoffed. Could it be they're hiding in a corner, too afraid to come out for fear of losing face? But the junior leaders didn't see it that way. Surviving this long in an insanity difficulty dungeon is also quite a feat. Tiana remained silent, observing the talents around her with binoculars, but seeing the insanity difficulty dungeon still not ended after over 2 hours. Her instincts told her this team was not to be underestimated. At this time, inside the dark forest dungeon, the mud dragon exited its void state and entered a rage. Teammates timed their throws to maintain the burning state. Linksa was waiting for the right moment, because upon entering rage, it would definitely release that move. Countless faint red lightning gathered on the mud dragon's right claw. The next instant, rocks exploded inside the canyon. A full-force swipe filled with rage was deafening. Linksa micro-controlled, jumping back and forth in the gaps of the attack. The burning bottles thrown by his teammates became his means of ranged attack. This level of control left everyone dumbfounded. How is it possible to dodge the aftermath, while also kicking the burning bottles thrown at him to attack the boss? What kind of skills does he possess? At this moment, the system prompted Linksa. He had not been hit. Accumulated combo count was 3,659. In an instant, Linksa activated his special skill, Jet Rush, a bolting attack utilizing the user's extreme grasp of body movements and agility. With a body like water, speed as fast as lightning. As Linksa got close to the mud dragon, he threw the last 14 burning bottles from his inventory at the dragon's four-limb joints. Then, Linksa added the flames of a burning bottle to his weapon. Jet Rush stacked with combos and Starfire Wildfire were triggered by Linksa simultaneously. At this moment, a dozen or so burning bottles exploded. In the moment when the mud dragon was rigid, Linksa threw the last burning bottle right in front of its face. That's right, now was the time to deal the highest damage in a single hit. He only needed to smash the burning bottle in front of him to finish off the boss. In this attack, contained the damage stack of 3,660 Jet Rush combos, finally using Starfire Wildfire to magnify all damage by 5 times. With a huge explosion, the mud dragon was burnt to ashes in the flames. System message: the team has defeated the boss, Mud Dragon, the Swamp Overlord. At this moment, Little Lon suddenly remembered something Linksa had told her privately. You've learned basic healing, right? Leave the final to you. After hearing Linksa's shout, Little Lon immediately began to chant the healing spell. Basic Dispel and Basic Heal were launched simultaneously. Finally, Linksa managed to lock down his health bar, because the 30 seconds of fire immunity had ended. If the Dispel and Heal were 1 second later, I might have died on the spot. This kind of do-or-die strategy was really pushing the limit for Linksa. At this moment, the bystanders outside the teleporter were getting impatient, but then all server players received a notification. Congratulations to player has hidden their information for clearing the Insanity difficulty Dark Forest. The Insanity difficulty first clear record has been updated. The newbie village was suddenly in chaos. Tiana stared at the blood-red teleporter with a solemn expression. Who is the commander of this team? I must get to know that person. At this point, Linksa walked out of the Insanity difficulty teleporter with 4 burdens. As soon as the team had cleared the dungeon, Linksa received an invitation from the 3rd guild, Wolf's Fang. Because of his experience in his previous life, they were using the guild name to clear out monsters everywhere. Upon learning that Linksa was the team leader, the 3rd leader of Wolf's Fang immediately sent an invitation. Linksa ignored this. We only have 2 hours until server closure. Let's go. The leader of Wolf's Fang looked black-faced, because all eyes were on this place. The deputy leader claimed it was Linksa's honor. The leader's words were full of mockery. We can allow you to join an affiliate guild under Wolf's Fang. Linksa remained silent after hearing this. Humph, an affiliate guild. Not interested at all. The 4 rookie teammates were surprised. The leader thought Linksa was a loner, so he angrily drew his weapon. Solo, come on, accept it right now. The bystanders, seeing the situation, quickly moved away. Wolf's Fang has lost its composure. We'd better move away quickly. An instant solo invitation popped up in front of Linksa. If you're a man, accept it. Linksa dismissively said. Don't be so sensitive. I don't have time. Wolf's Fang's captain became furious in an instant. He planned to take the risk of a red name and kill Linksa. With that, he instantly cast a bursting fireball at Linksa. System message: players can act in legitimate defense. Killing the aggressor does not count as a red name. Linksa dodged with a sideways move. A mage attacking an assassin is seeking death. Seeing Linksa's unconventional micro-movements, the leader's face was filled with shock. However, at that moment, numerous thorny vines emerged from the ground, blocking Wolf's Fang's people. Linksa turned his head to look. The one casting the magic was Tiana from the Nebulous Guild. Wolf's Fang cursed, annoyed. Nebulous bitch. But Tiana's eyes were fixed on Linksa. Linksa's intuition told him she was the sister Dyrus spoke of. Faced with Wolf's Fang's abuse, Tiana revealed a rare firmness. This thief is a friend of Nebulous. Do you want to provoke a conflict between the two big guilds? Wolfsfang's leader ordered his team to put away their weapons. It seems you are representing Nebulous to protect him. A week later, at the guild's monthly battle, let's fight to the death. Tiana didn't know whether standing up now was right or wrong, but it would be good to send people away for now. Linksa turned his head to thank Tiana. Tiana immediately put her hand on Linksa's shoulder to befriend him. You owe me a favor now, and it's not wise to offend a big guild, so I hope you can help me. Join Nebulous for a while. Participate in the monthly battle. I will pay you a considerable reward. How about it? At this moment, Tiana was calculating in her heart. This rogue's strength is worth my deep investigation. If he can be used by me, it would be best to join Nebulous first. But Linksa, without a second thought, refused, because joining a guild temporarily would restrict my freedom. Tiana was suddenly flustered. I can give you the most lenient conditions. All I need is your help during the monthly battle. Linksa was somewhat puzzled. I'm a level 5 rogue. I won't have a big impact on the monthly battle, right? And if you're afraid of being killed and losing levels, it's better not to participate, right? Seeing the impervious Linksa, Tiana looked troubled. Participating in the monthly battle can accumulate guild honor points. I have my own difficulties. Tiana wanted to speak again, but was interrupted by Linksa. Let's add each other as friends first. I'll reply to you before the monthly battle. Tiana's face was immediately filled with joy. Please reply as soon as possible. There will still be a simple assessment when joining the guild. I'll wait for your message. Immediately, Tiana opened Linksa's personal information. Turns out he's a 17-year-old little brother. The next moment, the information was actively hidden by Linksa. 6 years younger than me, he's an unlovable little brother. Meanwhile, in a corner, the leader of Nebulous witnessed the entire event. This kid, just you wait. The 3 noob teammates saw Linksa return and all made a commotion. Linksa gave them a wide-eyed glance before they quieted down. The Mud Dragon has dropped quite a bit of equipment this time, and also dropped cheap assassin's equipment set arm guard. After leaving the arm guard, the rest of the equipment was all sent to his teammates by Linksa. Having taken care of these things, Linksa logged out and returned to the real world. He took off his gaming helmet. It was already 7 AM. This day was quite smooth, and while playing the game, his physical body in the real world could also get sufficient rest. In the following 3 days, Linksa, along with his 4 noob teammates, cleared the Insanity difficulty dungeon 4 more times. Finally, before logging out on the 3rd day, they managed to complete the remaining parts of the cheap assassin's equipment set. After hiding the equipment, Linksa and the 4 noobs went their separate ways. Linksa's next target is the level 10 map, Castle of the Singing Moon. He's not coming here to kill bosses. It's because there's a god-tier skill hidden here that all the rogues in his previous life dreamed of. Level Spirit's invisibility. However, there would be level 10 evil spirits guarding the way, and they were right above the waterfall. As long as he took a detour to avoid the evil spirits, he could reach the area below the waterfall. But when Linksa arrived, he found the remains of the dead evil spirits on the ground. Could it be that a level 10 player had already been here? He couldn't let his guard down for a moment. Even a slight relaxation would allow countless people to catch up. When Linksa climbed to the top of the waterfall, he found the chest containing the skill book not only intact, but also without a single person around. However, anyone who opened this chest would be cursed, and the moment Linksa obtained the level spirit's invisibility book, the curse attached to his body like maggots, reducing all his attributes by 60%, and lasting for 6 hours. He just needed to find a safe place to learn the skill and all would be accomplished. But then an accident happened. He saw 3 players above level 10 approaching from behind. A level 6 little rogue. Quickly hand over the item, they demanded. Perhaps if Linksa wasn't cursed, he might have the strength to fight, but he immediately ruled out the idea of handing over the skill book to save his life. Because they were players from the Wolfsfang Guild, with their character, it would most likely end in a murder and robbery situation. Linksa's brows furrowed as he asked, "What if I don't hand it over?" Seeing Linksa put the skill book into his backpack, a malicious grin spread across the faces of the Wolfsfang Guild's players. They immediately launched an attack at Linksa. Quickly, Linksa initiated a backstab, circling behind the archer, hoping to eliminate one threat at a time. But due to the reduction in his attributes, he couldn't even break through the opponent's block, and his attack speed was halved. Seeing Linksa boldly charge into their ranks, the team leader revealed a triumphant smile. "Are you here to scrape our skin?" The next moment, the archer released a targeted arrow, aiming at Linksa for a pincer attack. At this point, Linksa's only hope was his micromanagement, but due to the increased skill casting time, he was instantly caught off guard by the opponents and interrupted. "If you had handed over the item willingly, you could have died quickly. Now we'll have to kill you and make the equipment drop. Then I'll cripple your limbs and silence you." Linksa knew that if he were crippled, death would be certain. At this critical moment, Linksa used the skill Jet Rush to accelerate and dodge the crippling attack. then quickly jumped above the archer. Just as the archer was taking aim, Lingsa preemptively initiated a backstab, leaving a shadow in the air. The backstab took effect in a breath's time, but it only deducted 50 points of health from the opponent. The archer was stunned. Why was he still so powerful even with his attributes reduced by 60%? A level 10 player nearby broke out in a cold sweat. What was the deal with this guy's gameplay? The team leader yelled angrily, "What are you all standing around for? Attack!" While everyone was stunned, Lingsa pulled out a triggered bomb, exploding on the spot and creating a layer of war fog, but it could only last for 3 seconds. The night team leader quickly activated an area of effect skill to disperse the smoke, but Lingsa had already released a one-time grappling hook, preparing to leap from the cover of the smoke and escape over the cliff. However, at that moment, the archer aimed at Lingsa's back for a targeted shot. Lingsa couldn't avoid it, and was viciously penetrated by the crossbow bolt through his shoulder. A murderous intent flashed in Lingsa's eyes. "I'll remember you, Wolf's Fanghild." Then he let go of the grappling hook, falling towards the bottom of the waterfall. Everyone was furious and frustrated. "If we see this kid again, kill him down to level 1. Meanwhile, an arm suddenly appeared on the shore. Lingsa poked his head out of the stream. His health was now dangerously low, but he had taken note of this vendetta. "Wolf's Fanghild, I didn't provoke you, but you came looking for trouble." Then Lingsa dialed nebulous Tiana's number. Hearing the familiar voice, Tiana was thrilled. "You finally contacted me. Have you decided to join the guild?" The voice on the other end of the phone was decisive. "Arrange the assessment for me. I accept your invitation." Tiana, overjoyed, asked, "When are you available?" At that moment, Lingsa was impatient. "Assess me now." Hearing the news, the nebulous assessment area was filled with people, because they were curious. Who was this person that could make Tiana arrange an assessment just for him? At that moment, Tiana brought Lingsa to the assessment area. People initially thought it would be some wealthy young master, but it turned out to be a level 6 newbie. Daira was surprised to see Lingsa too, and commented, "Tiana, you must keep this talent." Tiana agreed with Daira's opinion. Such a talent would be very useful for future goals. At that moment, the higher-ups from the 3rd division of the assessment area were present. Tiana introduced them to Lingsa. "This is our nebulous 3rd division's team leader. By Lai, you just have to withstand the members responsible for the assessment for 10 minutes. At this point, Bai Lai's mouth curved slightly. "I'll be your opponent for this assessment." Tiana was astonished. "This is just a regular assessment. You don't need to participate." But Lingsa walked forward. "I don't mind at all. It doesn't matter who comes. Let's get started." "But team leader Bai is level 9. Tiana whispered as a reminder. Bai Lai became jealous. "What are you whispering about? Come and start with me." Tiana put an evaluation device on Lingsa. "This bracelet will score your overall data. It helps the guild assess a player's level. Scores less than 100 go to the 3rd division, 100 to 150 to the 2nd, and over 150 qualifies for the 1st division." However, Lingsa said that he had been cursed, reducing all his attributes by 60%. Tiana was taken aback. "How can you fight like this?" Lingsa looked helpless. "There's only 10 minutes left, but it doesn't matter." Tiana sighed. Originally, Bai Lai scored 92. However, the duel just happened to be limited to 10 minutes. In theory, thieves have an advantage over archers. A murderous intent surged in Bai Lai's heart. "Don't treat me like an ordinary player, you little thief." The moment Bai Lai summoned his Spirit Frost Bow, Lingsa understood. He was an agility-type archer who paired with a slowing ice effect. Without calling a start, Bai Lai initiated an attack. His intense assault blocked Lingsa's path, forcing him to defend. Bai Lai's face was filled with superiority. "Is all you can do block? Watch me break your defense with one arrow." Lingsa quickly placed a blade in front of him, easily predicting the trajectory, but he underestimated the power of the ice arrow. Eventually, the ice arrow exploded with a 2-stage damage effect. With a thunderous noise, Lingsa lost 120 points of health. Everyone thought that Bai Lai was awesome. Only Tiana knew. Lingsa was in this tough situation because his attributes had been reduced by 60%. But at that moment, the testing bracelet showed a high score of 85 for Lingsa. Tiana's body shuddered. How could it be 85? Wasn't he cursed? Why is the score still so high? He should have 6 more minutes before the curse lifts. What would his score be if Lingsa were in a perfect state? Just as Lingsa was initiating a backstab, Bai Lai targeted the ground and released a blinding skill. Instantly, smoke enveloped the surroundings, not only limiting Lingsa's vision to 1 meter, but also making it impossible to see anything. At the same time, 4 arrows burst from the smoke, striking Lingsa's limbs. Bai Lai snapped his fingers, and the arrows embedded in Lingsa's limbs exploded. Tiana couldn't help but worry. "I told him not to fight." At this moment, Wasabi wondered, "Is Lingsa cursed? I'm a thief too." The normal timing for a backstab couldn't be this delayed. Yes, he has a buff that reduces all attributes by 60%. At that time, Bai Lai on the field sneered. "There are still 7 minutes left in the assessment. Little thief, Do you want to surrender? Lingsa snorted. Assessment? It looks like you're just venting your anger. Lingsa took advantage of Bai Lai's momentary confusion and immediately rushed into the nearby forest. Bai Lai followed leisurely. At the same time, Tiana and Wasabi also hurried towards the forest. Tiana, do you know how long that thief's buff will last? If it ends, Bai Lai might be in danger. Bai Lai is now seeing red. In the dense forest, it took him a full 7 minutes to catch sight of Lingsa, but at that moment, Lingsa's mouth curled up. Little Captain, now, it's your turn to run. Then a system prompt appeared. Curse time has ended. All attribute reductions have been restored. Though there's only 1 minute left in the assessment, it's enough for me to be regraded. At the same time, the numbers on the evaluator started to skyrocket, rising straight to 140 points, and Lingsa's long-suppressed combo was released again, but now it was smoother. Bai Lai started to doubt himself. What kind of godlike skill is this? Wasabi and Tiana arrived just in time to see this. Bai Lai felt humiliated. Damn, were you acting earlier? Don't force me to kill you accidentally. Then Bai Lai unilaterally cancelled the assessment mode and launched a targeted shot at Lingsa. The arrow that should have hit its mark mysteriously lost its target because Lingsa had initiated a backstab at that moment. But Bai Lai was not worried. He tried the same trick again and was preparing to release a blinding skill, but in the blink of an eye, he was critically hit by Lingsa's backstab. How did his speed increase so many times? But the fight was not over. Lingsa then fiercely kicked Bai Lai from behind. Though the damage was low, it was highly insulting. Finally, Lingsa held a blade to Bai Lai's face. Looking down, he asked, "Who are you just saying you were going to kill?" At that moment, a blade was thrust, sending Lingsa's blade flying. The arriving Wasabi questioned, "Killing him won't raise your assessment score." Lingsa challenged fearlessly, "In that case, why don't you two come at me together?" Bai Lai, lying on the ground, yelled angrily, "You arrogant fool, what are you pretending? I can handle this myself." Then Wasabi summoned a dagger, showing a readiness to engage. "I'd like to see what you can do." Bai Lai snapped, "I told you, I can handle this myself." "Stop it, Bai Lai, you can't beat him. As a fellow thief, I can feel he's not even using his full strength." Tiana warned, "I think this assessment is almost over. You two better not get carried away." Bai Lai was seething, wanting to tear Lingsa to pieces. "Wasabi, I want to use that move. You cooperate with me." Wasabi looked displeased. Has he lost his mind over pride? With that, Bai Lai consumed half of his mana bar and unleashed his most powerful attack on Lingsa, only to see an ice arrow explode above Lingsa's head and spread all around him. At that moment, a system prompt appeared. Absolute zero arrow array forming in 1.5 seconds, indiscriminate of friend or foe, and lasting 5 seconds, dealing 60 points of magical damage per second. Tiana was flabbergasted, because she knew that with Wasabi's upcoming attack, Lingsa's chances were slim. Unexpectedly, Lingsa didn't dodge or evade, he just stood still, as if waiting for Wasabi's arrival. In the blink of an eye, Wasabi launched a sleeping backstab, directly hitting Lingsa. "Sorry, little thief." Tiana couldn't think of how Lingsa could turn the tide. Was he really too arrogant after all? The successful Bai Lai instantly felt his pride swell, but Wasabi sensed something was wrong. At that moment, Lingsa's body turned into a purple light, and in an instant, it transformed into a spectral form. The next moment, a system prompt appeared. "You are in a state of fear, lasting 2 seconds." Just as the absolute zero arrow array formed, Wasabi's plan backfired. He took the full damage of the absolute zero arrow array. At that moment, Bai Lai felt a chill down his spine. His pupils shrank as he stared behind him. Standing behind him was Lingsa, with a blade against Bai Lai's neck. It turned out that the moment the arrows exploded, just to be safe, Lingsa had used the thief's divine skill, Level Spirit's Invisibility. This skill allowed him to create a spectral clone at his location, while the real body could turn invisible for 3 seconds. The first attack after coming out of invisibility dealt 300% critical damage. Tiana hurried over to play peacemaker. "Captain Bai Lai, given Lingsa's performance now, the assessment should be considered passed, right?" At that moment, a shadow emerged from within the absolute zero arrow array. "The assessment is not over yet." Wasabi's chest now bore a badge. "This device was originally for breaking through the ranks in the arena, but I think you're more worthy of my challenge. In these 15 seconds, I will gain an additional 90% boost to all attributes. Come on, Lingsa, let me see your strength." Lingsa's mouth curled slightly. He flipped his blade, using the back, and jabbed it into Bai Lai's nape. "I've just knocked him out temporarily. Don't worry, Tiana, you take him to the side." Because he truly missed this all-out stance to settle a rivalry, Lingsa had struggled countless times in this state in his past life. At this moment, his chest's proof of the glorious began to shine. An invisible force augmented Lingsa's body. Tiana, who was treating Bai Lai, suddenly looked aghast, for the numbers on the evaluator had jumped from the original 140 to over 300, and continued to rise. "Lingsa, Who on earth are you? What is your limit? What was once a common guild assessment had now evolved into a battle of honor between two thieves. On one side was the chosen candidate of the Proof of the Glorious. On the other side was the top thief of Nebula's third-tier team. In the previous life, in the highly skilled Heavenland, he had fought like this countless times, fighting for honor, relying on the last remnants of belief and dignity. Now, Linksa only felt an indescribable surge of passion awaken within, and this momentum seemed to be resonating with something in Heavenland. Wasabi was equally focused. Level 6 Linksa was exuding the aura of a max-level character from his past life. I will settle this with you in 15 seconds. Neither gained an advantage in the first clash, and Wasabi was clearly struggling. But in the second clash, although Wasabi took the initiative, he was still countered by Linksa's incredibly detailed microcontrol. This thief called Linksa, his speed was indeed fast. However, just as Wasabi prepared to launch a backstab, a large hand reached out towards his face. Impossible, his speed is still increasing, and Linksa, not content with merely interrupting the backstab, followed up with a blow that sent Wasabi flying. As Wasabi steadied himself, Linksa rushed at him without a moment's pause. Had Linksa lost his sanity and his bloodlust? At this moment, the two were only 3 meters apart. Wasabi seized the opportunity to launch a backstab. He believed that at this distance, Linksa could not possibly react in time. But what Wasabi didn't know was, there's a microcontrol technique in the gaming world called Top Time. Top Time is a state where the player becomes one with the game character. During this state, the character's microcontrol and reaction can be elevated to an incredibly subtle and extreme level. Right now, Linksa was in the Top Time state. As a result, Linksa turned the impossible into possible. With a swish, Linksa's backstab was 0.5 seconds faster than Wasabi's. In the blink of an eye, he interrupted Wasabi's spellcasting. Wasabi looked at Linksa in disbelief. Even though my strength has increased by 90%, why does it seem like nothing in front of him? In an instant, Wasabi launched the skill Clone Lock Kill, but the next moment, Linksa's fist arrived at his face, again interrupting his skill. But Wasabi did not give up. At that moment, Wasabi seized the opportunity. He stabbed Linksa's dagger into his own body, hoping to pin Linksa down, then attack Linksa with his black blade in his right hand. I want you to pay in blood. In the nick of time, Linksa effortlessly caught Wasabi's attacking wrist. Using Wasabi's own force and momentum, he executed a move akin to using 4 ounces to deflect 1,000 pounds. Ultimately, Linksa successfully disarmed Wasabi. However, the 15-second augmentation countdown also reached 0 at that moment. Time's up. System notification. Wasabi has been disarmed. After the weapon is taken or destroyed, any attack will lose the weapon's bonus. Tiana, who witnessed this scene, was rendered speechless. Wasabi knelt on the ground. I concede. You are strong. You have passed the assessment. Tiana was indeed right about you. Linksa did not linger, but left with the words, I'll contact you later. In contrast, Bailai, struck into a state of shock by Linksa, left dejectedly. Wasabi sighed and asked, what was Linksa's final assessment score? A bead of cold sweat appeared on Tiana's forehead. The final score was 86. Wasabi looked smug. Bailai was 92 before. I was 90. Linksa now is 86. It seems very interesting. By the way, Tiana, remember to put Linksa in the guild's war the day after tomorrow. After Wasabi left, Tiana's face turned solemn. She stared blankly at the score panel, looking at the evaluation result of 993 points. Could it be a mistake with the instrument?